The culinary world and online communities are mourning the tragic and untimely death of Yanin, Campos' beloved MasterChef contestant and rising TikTok sensation who passed away in a devastating car crash earlier this week, at just 29 years. Old Campos was more than a chef. She was an inspiration, a joyful presence, and a role model for aspiring cooks and content creators alike. Her sudden death has sent shockwaves through fans, fellow chefs, and the global TikTok community. As tributes pour in, one thing becomes painfully clear. The world has lost not only a gifted cook, but a vibrant soul who brought warmth, humor, and passion to everything she touched. According to local authorities, the fatal crash occurred late Tuesday night on a rural highway in northern Argentina, where Yanin was traveling after attending a private cooking event. Initial reports suggest her vehicle collided head-on with a truck, and despite emergency response teams arriving swiftly, Campos was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of the crash remains under investigation. Authorities have not ruled out road conditions or mechanical failure, but no foul play is suspected. Her family released a brief but heartfelt statement. Yanin was the light of our lives and brought joy to so many. We ask for privacy as we process this unimaginable loss. Yanin Campos first rose to prominence as a fan-favorite contestant on MasterChef Argentina, where her creativity, charm, and unapologetically bold flavors won over judges and viewers alike. Her dishes often drew from her Bolivian-Argentinian roots, celebrating indigenous ingredients and homegrown traditions with a modern twist. Though she didn't win the competition, Campos walked away with something arguably more powerful: an audience who believed in her. Shortly after the show, she exploded on TikTok, where she had amassed over 2.7 million followers and 90 million likes. From humble food hacks and budget meals to comedic sketches in the kitchen, Yanin made cooking feel accessible and joyful for an entire generation. Her trademark sign-off, Cocinar Ease Amor Cooking is Love, became more than a catchphrase, became a movement in the hours following her death. The internet was flooded with emotional tributes. Fellow MasterChef contestant Julian Salguero wrote, "She made every moment on set feel like home. She didn't just cook, she comforted." Celebrity chef Donato De Santis shared a photo of her signature empanadas with the caption, "Rest easy, little sister of flavor." TikTok creators across Latin America posted recipe videos dedicated to her memory, often ending them with her iconic sign-off. Even fans who had never met her felt the weight of her loss. "She made me fall in love with cooking again," one follower wrote. "Now, every time I'm in the kitchen, I'll think of her." What made Yanin Campos truly special wasn't just her food or content hit, was her heart hit. She often spoke openly about mental health, body positivity, and growing up in a low-income neighborhood. She used her platform to uplift others and share messages of resilience. Just last month, she launched a free online cooking course for single mothers and unemployed youth, aimed at teaching practical skills for economic independence. She always said success meant nothing unless you brought others with you, a close friend revealed. Campos's family has announced that a public memorial service will be held in Buenos Aires later this week. The event is expected to draw hundreds, including celebrities, fellow chefs, fans, and online influencers. A digital vigil is also being planned on TikTok, where users will light virtual candles, share their favorite Yanin recipes, and celebrate her life with love, laughter, and food just as she would have wanted. Yanin Campos wasn't just a chef. She wasn't just a content creator. And she certainly wasn't just another reality show contestant hoping for her 15 minutes of fame. She was far more than all of those labels. She was a storyteller who used food as her language, a cultural bridge who brought generations together around the dinner table, a spirited woman who believed that anyone, no matter their background, deserved a seat at the table and the tools to make something beautiful once they got there. Her kitchen wasn't just a place of recipes and ingredients. It was a haven, a sanctuary, stage for laughter, empowerment, and sometimes tears. Yanin understood, perhaps more deeply than many, that cooking is not just a task, it's an act of love, of survival, of celebration. And she gave that love freely, to millions of strangers who watched her, followed her, and grew to love her. From her first appearance on MasterChef Argentina, there was something unmistakably different about Yanin. She didn't enter the competition with arrogance or a hunger for celebrity. She entered with heart, with humility, the fierce desire to learn, share, and grow. Viewers were drawn to her warmth, her humor, and her authenticity, qualities that became her trademark both on television and later, across TikTok and Instagram. But Yanin didn't stop at the spotlight. She used it to light the way for others. In the often shallow world of online fame, Yanin Campos stood out because she had depth. Her videos weren't just about viral recipes or trendy challenges. They were about connection to food, to family, to culture, and ultimately to the millions of people who found comfort in her content. She didn't care about views for the sake of virality. She cared about telling stories. She cooked with her heart and let the rest follow. When Yanin prepared a dish on TikTok, she didn't just list ingredients. She told stories. Stories about her grandmother's hands, worn and cracked from years in the kitchen. Stories about her mother's courage, raising kids through hardship without ever letting them feel hungry or unloved. Stories about her community's resilience, holding each other up when systems failed them. Every recipe carried a piece of her past and a promise for the future. She reminded her viewers that food was never just food. It was memory, it was culture, it was healing. In one of her most viral videos, she cooked a simple quinoa stew, a recipe passed down generations, while talking about how her family used to stretch meals to last the whole week. "This isn't fancy," she said with a soft smile, "but it kept us warm. It kept us together." That video didn't need flashy transitions, overproduced background music, or clickbait hooks. It was real, and that realness resonated with millions. Felt like a warm blanket on a cold night, reminded people of their own family dinners, their abuelas, their childhoods. Yanin had a rare ability to make the internet feel like home. For immigrants missing the taste of back home, for college students learning to cook on a budget, for single moms trying to keep traditions alive, she was a lifeline. Comments on her posts weren't just likes and emojis, they were paragraphs. "This reminds me of my mother's tamales," one wrote. Yanin read those comments. She replied. She remembered names. She understood the responsibility she carried with her platform, not to entertain, but to uplift. And beyond her recipes, she was also a loud and proud voice for representation. In an industry still dominated by Eurocentric standards, Yanin didn't hide her roots. She celebrated them. Her accent, her curls, her brown skin, she brought them to the table unapologetically. "I want little girls who look like me to know they belong here too," she said during a podcast interview. In the kitchen, in media, anywhere. And she meant it. Behind the camera, Yanin was no different. Friends described her as humble to a fault, generous beyond measure, and always the first to lift others up. When a fellow TikTok creator lost their job, Yanin collaborated with them just to help boost their profile. When a local food bank was struggling, she mobilized her fans for donations, sharing recipes that used pantry staples so no one felt ashamed for having less. When strangers emailed her for advice, she answered with kindness. She was never too big to be human, never too popular to be present. As her audience grew into the millions, her vision grew with it. She was in talks to publish her first cookbook, part memoir, part recipe collection. The working title was From My Table to Yours. She planned to include fan-submitted stories alongside her own, because as she often said, cooking is a conversation, not a performance. Yanin had also been working quietly with nonprofits to provide cooking classes in underprivileged schools. "Every child should know how to feed themselves with dignity," she said in one of her last live streams. Her dream wasn't just to be a famous chef, it was to make cooking accessible, cultural, soulful again. It's cruel that this light has been extinguished so suddenly. Car crash took her away from us, but it can't take away what she left behind. Her TikTok account, still flooded with comments from grieving fans, has become a digital altar. People return to her old videos not just for recipes, but for comfort. "I watched this again today," one user wrote beneath her quinoa stew video, "because I miss hearing your voice. You reminded me to love where I came from. What Yanin Campos left behind can't be measured in follower counts or brand deals. She left behind a movement, a reminder that the most powerful content doesn't scream. It speaks softly and truthfully. That the most lasting fame comes not from virality, but from vulnerability. And that the best chefs don't just feed you, they nourish your soul. Her family has announced that they will honor her legacy by continuing the charitable work she started. A scholarship fund in her name is also being established to support young women pursuing culinary dreams. She believed in lifting others, her sister shared in a tearful statement. So that's what we'll keep doing, as the world scrolls on. May we all remember to pause like Yanin did, to appreciate the small, warm, quiet things. A meal cooked with love, story shared with honesty, a platform used with purpose. She may be gone, but her spirit lingers in every kitchen where someone chooses to cook with heart. And that, perhaps, is the most enduring recipe of all. Her passion led her to launch a free online cooking series just a month before her death, aimed at empowering single mothers, out-of-work youth, and food-insecure communities. If I can teach someone to make something from nothing, she said in a live stream, then I've done something right. Yanin Campos was unapologetically herself. She was proudly curvy in a world that often celebrates only one kind of beauty. She was proudly Latina in a digital space that still underrepresents diverse voices, and she was proudly from a working-class background in an industry often dominated by privilege. For so many young women watching her, she wasn't just a chef. They saw her as proof that their dreams were valid, that they didn't have to change who they were to be seen. Their accents, their roots, their bodies, and their stories were beautiful, powerful, and worth sharing. In interviews, Yanin spoke openly about battling imposter syndrome, about growing up in a home where money was tight but meals were rich in flavor and family. She never tried to hide her past. She wore it like a badge of honor. And in doing so, she gave permission to others to embrace their own journeys, no matter how messy or imperfect. Her TikTok comments were filled with fans writing things like, "You made me believe I could be proud of where I come from. You remind me of my mom in the kitchen, thank you. You taught me more about love in a 3-minute video than most people do in a lifetime." The news of Yanin's death feels surreal. It's hard to accept that someone so full of life could be taken in an instant. The world is quieter without her laughter echoing through her videos, without her hands stirring spices with care, without her words urging us to cook with love, always. But while her physical presence may be gone, her spirit is woven into the lives she touched, into the meals recreated from her videos, into the kitchens where first-time cooks try her empanada recipe, into the hearts of the young girls who dream of being seen and heard, just like she was, in every dish inspired by her. In every story shared in her name, Yanin lives on. As we say goodbye to Yanin Campos, we also make a promise to carry her legacy forward. To cook not just with skill, but with joy. To share our cultures, our stories, and our tables. To find power in being exactly who we are. In her kitchen, there were no rules, only love. And in her life, there were no limits, only possibilities. She showed us that food can be a revolution, that kindness can be a movement, that being real is more powerful than being perfect. So too, Yanin, thank you for the meals, for the memories, for the courage to show up exactly as you were. Rest in peace, Yanin. May your flame continue to burn brightly in kitchens around the world. May your story remind us all to live fully, cook fearlessly, and love generously.